upon a time, in a faraway kingdom, filled with bright colors and shining hills, there lived a sweet and beautiful girl named Snow White. Her skin was fair as snow, and her gentle nature made her loved by all. Every day she wandered through the gardens, talking to the birds and picking flowers, as if she were part of the sunshine herself. Snow White lived in the royal castle with her stepmother, the queen. But the queen was proud and jealous, and every morning she stood before her magic mirror, asking, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" As long as the mirror answered, "You are my queen," her heart remained calm. But one day, when she asked again, the magic mirror glowed and replied, "Snow White is the fairest of them all." Hearing this, the queen's jealousy exploded like a storm. She decided that Snow White must disappear from the castle forever. Running for her life, Snow White escaped deep into the dark forest. At first, everything felt frightening. Twisted trees, strange shadows, and rustling bushes. But slowly, the soft voices of birds and gentle light through the leaves made her feel safe again. Soon, Snow White discovered a tiny, adorable cottage hidden behind the thick trees. Inside, everything was small. Tiny chairs, tiny plates, tiny beds, as if the house belonged to a miniature world. She was tired, so she cleaned the cottage lovingly until it sparkled like new. After finishing her work, she curled up on one of the tiny beds and fell fast asleep. Later that day, the cottage's owners returned, 7 little dwarfs who worked deep in the mountains. When they entered and saw a girl sleeping in their home, their eyes popped open in surprise. They gathered around her in awe. When Snow White woke up, she told them her story. The dwarfs were touched and quickly welcomed her to stay with them. They promised she would be safe there. For the first time since escaping, Snow White felt like she had found a new family in the forest. Life with the dwarfs was warm and happy. Snow White cooked with them, cleaned with them, played with the woodland animals, and shared laughter every day. The forest began to feel like home. But back at the castle, the queen once again questioned her magic mirror. When she learned Snow White was still alive, her anger grew even stronger. Determined to end this once and for all, she mixed a bubbling magic potion and transformed herself into a crooked old woman. Disguised as the old hag, she traveled through the woods until she reached the dwarf's cottage. Snow White, kind-hearted as always, let her in. The old woman offered her a shiny, bright red apple. The lucky apple, she called it. The moment Snow White took a bite, she felt dizzy. Her eyes closed, and she collapsed gently to the floor. The old queen cackled with triumph and disappeared into the forest shadows. When the dwarfs returned and found her lying still, their hearts broke. Believing she was gone forever, they placed her in a beautiful glass coffin in a quiet forest clearing surrounded by flowers and soft sunlight. Days later, a young prince passed through the forest. When he saw Snow White inside the glass coffin, her gentle beauty touched his heart. He knelt beside her and whispered a heartfelt prayer. As he spoke, Snow White suddenly began to breathe again. Her eyes fluttered open, filled with life. The dwarfs burst into joyful celebration. The prince lovingly asked Snow White to come with him to his kingdom. Snow White hugged the dwarfs tightly and promised she would never forget them. And so, Snow White's journey changed from fear and sorrow into love and hope. She rode away toward a new life filled with happiness, friendship, and the promise of a bright tomorrow.